Over the past month, I've been completely rethinking and reshaping my game. Systems have been overhauled, mechanics revamped, and yes, there's even a big new surprise I've been working on alongside the game. This is the start of something big, a game that's transforming week by week. But what's new, what's changed, and what's the secret project I've been working on? And let me show you everything that's happened this past month. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. But before we dive into the first 2 weeks of development, and if you're excited about what you've seen so far, head over to Steam and wishlist Sliding Glide. It helps immensely with visibility, and you'll be notified as soon as the game launches. You can find the Steam page link in the description below. Now, let's jump into weeks 1 and 2, where things really started taking shape.
First up, I've added some much needed flexibility to the game settings. You can now toggle between full screen and window modes. Additionally, when you pause the game in full screen, it will automatically switch to windowed mode, making multitasking much easier. For those playing with a controller, the mouse cursor remains hidden unless the player pauses the game. And to make everything seamless, all of these settings are now saved directly into the save file, so now you don't have to change the settings every time you boot up the game. I've also tackled a series of mini updates to enhance the gameplay. One of these is the tutorial system has been revamped to match the style I had in the demo, and I also improved the attack aiming instructions so that they are more clear to the player. I've also fixed some bugs I ran into with the Stone Golem's attacks and improved its immunity action, make it much more transparent and clear to the player what's going on. But I also added a feature where the Stone Golem will heal a small amount of health every time he does the immune action. This is to bring more difficulty to this boss fight because it is a little simple, but I've talked about in past videos how I want there to be somewhat of a gimmick for each boss, and this is what I want to do for the Stone Golem. To make the gliding mechanic even better after my game expo, I have addressed an issue where players could get stuck on corners while gliding, which was game breaking and made the game seem super buggy, so I have fixed that now. And the mushroom bounces are much more consistent with only 2 distinct heights the player can bounce off of the mushroom. This is all depending on the speed the player is going when approaching the mushroom. I have also added updated spikes. They now look more sharp, and now they prevent landing in between them, which was especially a problem on corners where the player could land on the corner right in between the spikes, but that is now fixed. I've also gone about improving the visuals for all of the menus, which include the pause menu, settings menu, main menu, and also the loading screen, so that it has a more polished look with the game art. Next, after request from the Game Expo, I've introduced a dynamic camera system to improve gameplay visibility. Whether you're in the air or crouching, the camera adjusts smoothly to give the player the best perspective. When crouching, the camera also pans downwards, similar to games like Spelunky, so the player can see what's below them before they jump down from a platform. And initially, when I implemented this system, there was problems where the camera was super jittery when going from the air to the ground and back to the air super quickly. So I've also added in small delays in between going into the air and landing back onto the ground to remove these jittery movements of the camera. Another big focus of mine for these 2 weeks was player movement, and I've introduced a system where the player's sprite is angled when on slopes, creating a smoother and more natural look. This required some intricate raycasting and interpolation, but the result speaks for itself. To continue with the player movement, I also addressed the fact that the physics felt a little floaty for the player character, so I have adjusted gravity and the jump force and refined the deceleration both in the air and on the ground to make the game more reactive to the player's button presses, and again, so that the player movement feels less floaty. These changes further enhance the experience with the ice mechanics in the iceberg biome, because now the difference between not being on ice and being on ice is much more impactful and a much bigger difference. And now finally, I have started implementing the final NPC dialogue for my game. NPCs now respond dynamically, offering multiple dialogue options based on your progress and major actions in the world. And I've done this by integrating the story beats and NPC interactions directly into the save system so that the game actually tracks the player progress and the world actually reacts to the player's actions in the world.
So that wraps up the progress from weeks 1 and 2. New settings, smoother movement, improved tutorials, and plenty of polish. But I didn't stop there. In weeks 3 and 4, things took an even bigger leap, from working on a secret project to refining gameplay mechanics and adding immersive sound effects. The game is evolving in exciting ways, so let me show you what's next. First on the list, I fixed some buggy and inconsistent collisions with good spirits. Originally, the player moved so fast while falling in the air player, it was hard to time the jump when approaching a good spirit. Now, when the player is passing through a spirit, their vertical velocity slows down slightly, creating a larger window of opportunity for the player to make the jump off the spirit. I'm also thrilled to announce a brand new demo for my game's Steam page. This demo, set to release in the coming months, is a blend of inspirations and fresh ideas. It draws heavily from the old demo I created for my school's game show, while incorporating elements directly from the actual levels. But that's not all. It also includes parts that are 100% original, crafted specifically to give players a taste of what's to come. Unlike the old demo, which focused only on the first biome, this one features sections from different biomes to give the players a more diverse experience. I've also improved the GUI for the golden acorns and energy crystals when you claim them. Now there's a satisfying animation to accompany the moment, along with sound effects that match the visuals perfectly. On top of that, I've added a charming little melody inspired by Breath of the Wild's item claiming sound effects to make collecting these items feel even more rewarding. Now that I'm getting closer to the end of this project, I realize it is lacking some important touches that will help with the game feel. This is mainly from the lack of sound effects. This is why I have added this little melody and plan to add similar audio additions elsewhere to help with game feel. To keep on the topic of audio, I've also fully completed the player sound effects for all actions. Whether you're jumping, gliding, or collecting items, every sound is now in place to enhance the immersion. This helps immensely for the game feel, but it is only the start for adding sound effects to my game. One of the biggest lessons I'm learning from this project is to do all the sound effects right away when I create a new mechanic. That way I don't have a completely silent game for 2 years of development, and then now a couple months before release, I have to scramble to add audio everywhere. Thank you all for following along with these development updates. Your continued support and enthusiasm for this project mean the world to me. I'm excited to see your reactions to the new demo when it launches next month, especially the enhanced spirit mechanics and improved collectible system. Don't forget to wishlist the game on Steam to stay updated on future announcements and the official release date. If you want to see why I switched to only uploading 1 video a month instead of 2 videos a week, you can see that video in the top left-hand corner. And also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified when my next video goes live. Until next time, this is RBC Mr. Rhodes, signing off for now.